Okay, perfect. Woo! Hey guys, welcome back. So, one thing that I want to talk about today, and that is night photography. A lot of people keep asking me, it's like, how do you take photos at night? Like, how do you do this? Or honestly, it's not that complicated. It's only a few simple steps. So let's go ahead and, well, still daytime. So let's wait for the sun to set, and as soon as the sun sets, boom, we're gonna do some night photography. It's only 6:22. The sun does not set until, well, later today, so what do we do in the meantime? Okay, Google, what time does the sun set in Austin, Texas?
The sun will set at 7:50 p.m.
7:50 p.m. and it's only 6:21, so we have, okay Google, 6:21 minus 7:50.
The answer is minus 129.
And there it is. I guess we have about, no, that doesn't seem right. Yeah, I spent like 5 minutes in my house and I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not just gonna kill an hour and 30 minutes doing nothing. So, we're gonna go get some coffee. I wasted roughly 60% of the battery literally doing that, but alright, well, just finished my coffee, so let's get started. So there are many ways to do this, but some of the things that you're going to want to have, and you actually need to have when you're doing night photography, is a tripod. And that is going to be essential in order to keep the shot steady, because one of the things that really makes a difference when it comes to night photography and getting such amazing detail, it's not about the ISO, because as you already know, the higher the ISO, the more noise you're gonna get on your, well, photos. So how do you take a photo at night and keep in such like an amazing detail? Believe it or not, we're gonna set the ISO to as low as possible, and for me that's going to be 100 or 50 if your camera can support that. But anyways, the next thing that you're gonna do, it's going to be your, well, shutter speed. So in this case, we're gonna lower that as low as we can, and depending on your camera settings or whether or not you have a remote control to control the shutter manually, you're gonna want to lower that and basically do trial and error. So as you keep going lower on your shutter, you're gonna notice you can leave the shutter open anywhere from like 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, and so on. Most cameras are going to allow you to go as low as 30 seconds for the shutter speed. However, the reason I use a remote control like the one that I show you here is because I like to leave mine open for as long as like even a minute or 2 minutes. It all depends on the next thing, which is going to be your aperture. And in this case, the aperture on the photo that I just showed you was set to 12 and then the other one at 14. Now, the reason for why I set the aperture to that point, to 14 or f14, f15, depending on the f-stop or how you want to call it, is to get more detail in the overall photo. That is exactly why you need to have the remote control, so you can manually control how long you're going to have that exposure open. So one of the things that I like to do is using a stopwatch when it comes to taking long exposure photography. The reason for that is because even if you can count pretty well, using the stopwatch is going to allow you to actually time the photos and determine whether or not you need to keep that exposure open for a little bit longer or perhaps a little less. While it's not required to use a stopwatch, I highly recommend it just because it's going to give you that precise amount of detail in determining whether or not you need to keep on going. Or maybe you overdid it and you don't know exactly where you are just because 10 seconds, it's going to be different for everyone else, whereas with a stopwatch, it's always the same. Another thing that we're gonna go over later is editing, but for now, this is just how to take photos of like cities and skylines. In the next tutorial, I'm gonna go into the middle of nowhere and show you how to do long exposure photography of just the open sky.